With the Breeders' Cup set to begin Friday and Saturday action at the Horse Racing World Championships effectively out at Santa Anita, let's welcome in Barry Abrams from ESPN.com, the In the Gate podcast, to help us go through a little bit of the weekend's action. Barry, how are you, man?
Very good. It's a very exciting time.
Absolutely. We'll look at two on Friday and a couple more on Saturday, and I want to get started with the second Breeders' Cup race on Friday. That's the Dirt Mile, and it kind of comes down to me when I look at these PPs. It comes down to Golden Sense, and obviously he's the 6-5 favorite. He's the overwhelming favorite, but he's a front-running horse who likes to be comfortable on that lead. I don't know if he's going to get a comfortable lead. What do you see in this one?
I think he's clearly on paper the most talented horse, but again, it's not always the best horse that wins the race. It's the one that gets to the finish line first. And I agree with you. I'm not so sure he's going to have a great trip. You know who really interests me here? He's always the kind of X factor that you get at the Breeders' Cup is Bronzo, the Chilean horse, because he carries so much weight in Chile. He will not obviously have to do that here. We don't know what kind of racetracks they run on down there, although I think the competition is better than we think it is. And he's fresh. He hasn't run since June in that race that qualified him for the Dirt Mile. If you're looking for a long shot, Secret Circle is there, obviously, and he ran well last year and is back again as well. I would take a chance on Bronzo a little bit.
We'll move on to Friday's fourth, and that is the feature of that day, the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Really one of the more interesting races of the weekend, because you have the headline at Untappable, you have the headline in Close Hatches. I think you got two other very good horses in Belle Galantine and Don't Tell Sophia. For me, Barry, it's just going to come down to Untappable probably shouldn't have run in the Haskell. She's back in form. I think she's the best here.
Well, the thing is, though, her last race in the Cotillion down at Parks, I don't know what she got out of that. The racetrack was so off that day. It was so weird. It was a highway for front runners, and she was fighting that in coming from off the pace. But I'm just not sure what she got out of that and whether she's past her peak or not. It's just too tough to tell. Given her poor race in the Spinster, if anyone other than Bill Mott trained Close Hatches, you'd say, why is he running her back here in the Distaff? She had a terrific summer, but that race at Keeneland was just awful. And the question is, do you draw a line through it? Everybody says the track down there with the new dirt surface switched over from Polytrack is a really good surface, so I'm not blaming the track for her poor performance. If she runs back to her form, she is the best horse in this race, not Untappable. But like I said, Bill Mott, his credentials are unquestioned. So, to me, she could run back. But if it was anyone else training her, except maybe Graham Motion, I'd say I don't think so. Belle Galante is a speed horse. She's got to be on the lead. I don't know that she's going to be able to get an easy pace here, and I don't see her coming in. To me, it's Don't Tell Sophia. Don't Tell Sophia seems to be the most consistent here, and I think it's her race to lose.
It's very interesting. I mean, she's one of those horses right on the fringe. She's so impressive. I just don't know if she has. I don't know if she can step up to take on Untappable, the Close Hatches. But you're absolutely right. I mean, Close Hatches, that was a dreadful performance in the Spinster. Untappable, I mean, she does have. There are questions. So this is, like I said, one of the more intriguing races. And we'll jump right to Saturday's card now, toward the end of Saturday's card with the Turf Mile. Always a very interesting race. Now we're without Wise Dan in this edition. Heartbreak as that is for a Big Wise Dan fan that I am. But we get another horse who I fell in love with recently, and that's the 12 Seek Again. That horse's 4-star Dave, where he was just stopped and stopped and stopped and stopped time after time at the top of the stretch and still ran on for the win and set a course record. I love Seek Again in that race. I love that performance. I think I like him here.
Seek Again is probably the top American horse here, but he has no chance to beat Toronado. Even 80% of Toronado is better than anything Seek Again could possibly put up. I mean, look at the horses that Torrenado's kept company with this year. I mean, they're the best horses in the world. I'm sorry. I am rooting for the Americans to do well, but they're not better than he is. And, you know, I love the fact that the Europeans still come over here because, frankly, they don't have to. There are enough good races in Europe for them to make a lot of money in the fall with Irish Champions Weekend and Arc de Triomphe Weekend and now British Champions Weekend. So I almost want to see them keep winning just so they'll keep coming and we can call this a world championship. But to me, Toronado is the best horse out there.
Nobody can fault you for taking Toronado. Nobody can fault for the European shippers in these turf races. They can be so dominant that it is hard to look against them. It's just, I guess because I was there, I was on the hedge when Seek Again won that race. Maybe it's just more of a nostalgia pick more than anything. But I
was there for Wise Dan's Bernard Baruch come back, and it really hurt that he's not there.
Yeah.
But if you're betting with your wallet, Toronado's the horse.
Yeah. Well, I need to heed my wallet's advice more than my heart sometimes. And we'll look now to the final race, the headline race, and that is Saturday's Classic. The headline for me, and I think it's the headline maybe the whole weekend, is how good is Shared Belief. This is a horse who's 7 for 7 in his career, missed the Triple Crown campaign, but has been so impressive since. Compromising the Awesome again, just swung way out wide all the way around the track and still won that race. But you have Tonalist, who I think is much better than his summer at Saratoga showed, and California Chrome, who's terrible Pennsylvania Derby, but I think that was a prep, and I think it was a prep to avoid Shared Belief. And if he fires, who knows what happens in this race? How do you see it, Barry?
Well, the question you have to ask yourself, as you are asking yourself, sort of, is what was more impressive? Shared Belief getting drifted out all the way to Pasadena, circling the field and winning the Awesome again, or Tonalist boxed in on the rail in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, coming down the stretch, getting out, splitting horses, bulling his way through, and winning. And to me, it's Tonalist. Maybe I'm a biased East Coaster, that's possible, but I don't think Shared Belief can beat Tonalist. I absolutely do not think he can beat Tonalist. Tonalist, to me, is the absolute best horse in this race. If he can handle the surface, and he's never raced outside of the New York tracks, and he can handle the cross-country shipping, he should blow them away here. Now, you mentioned California Chrome. Obviously, a lot of people are going to pay attention to him. Like I didn't think Untappable got a lot out of her race at Parks, I don't think California Chrome got out or lost a lot because of his race at Parks. He, too, was the victim of race riding, just like Shared Belief was. All the riders ganged up to keep him pinned along the rail. They didn't want him to get out where they know he's comfortable. None of them paid attention to Bayern, who stole that Penn Derby on the front end. But California Chrome won't have those problems here. I think all these jockeys are just going to run their own races. And so I think California Chrome is going to run better here than he did in Pennsylvania. He's just not better than Shared Belief. He wasn't better than Shared Belief last December when that horse suffered an abscess in his foot and missed the Triple Crown. He's not better than him now, and he's not better than Tonalist.
Now, are you like me, Barry, where you look at Bayern and say, look, this is not a 1.25 mile horse, and with Moreno and Cigar Street, there's going to be too much pace, too much pressure at the front, and you kind of take him out of it? How do you figure on Bayern in this race?
Yeah, there's no way that horse can run 1.25 miles, and frankly, the only reason he's entered in that race is because Fed Biz is in the dirt mile, and Bob Baffert doesn't want to enter them both in the same race. Bayern can't run 1.25 miles and win, although I don't think the winner of any of these races, particularly the Classic, is going to come from too far back. I don't think you're going to see somebody close from out of the clouds on that Santa Anita track because it just doesn't lend itself to that. But there's no way Bayern wins this race from the front end. If you want a couple of sleepers, I think Cigar Street is good enough to hang around, depending on where he fits in the early part. I don't think he's going to be right on the lead. I think he's going to end up just behind Bayern and Moreno. And that horse has been hurt a lot. But when he's not hurt, he wins. And I think he's class enough to stick around. The other one that I would throw in there that nobody's really talking about is Majestic Harbor, who won what I think is the single best performance by an older horse this year in winning the Gold Cup at Santa Anita, a race, of course, that used to be run on Hollywood Park.
Mm-hmm.
He, I think, earned like a 111 Beyer speed figure for winning that race. That was a tremendous performance. If he runs back anywhere close to that, I think he's going to have a little something to say about it, though I don't think he quite wins.
It's a very, very interesting race, and your point on Majestic Harbor is absolutely well taken, but I think I agree with you. It's shared belief. How good is he? It's tonalist. I think tonalist, and I'll take your opinion on this, obviously, Bear. I think tonalist might be a little overlooked in this race when at least it comes time to post time, and we're looking at betting, because they'll look at they'll look at the Gold Cup and say, hey, that was a great performance, but they'll also look at the Travers and they'll look at the Jim Dandy and say, I don't think this horse can hang with shared belief. When you really break it down, I think the Jim Dandy was an absolute prep for the Travers, and then they get to Travers Day. Bayern gets out to a lead, and Joel Rosario, the jockey, abandons the plan and takes Tonalist really out of the race. And I think, if this horse runs his Belmont, if this horse runs his Gold Cup, I think you're right. He could easily win this race, and I think it's a showdown between him and Shared Belief.
Now, again, keep in mind, that Belmont Park is a tricky surface. It's very sandy, hence the nickname, Big Sandy,
Mm-hmm.
and not everybody takes to it, and Tonalist took better to it than anyone else, and that is the site of his biggest wins, the Peter Pan, the Belmont, the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Will he handle the surface at Santa Anita? That's the big question. You can't tell that until they go out there, but based on everything that we know, to me, Tonalist is the best horse in the race, and that performance in the Gold Cup and the way he did it, to me, is the best indicator of how he can handle a big physical race with a lot of horses.
Absolutely. Barry Abrams, ESPN.com, the In the Gate podcast. Barry, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck this weekend. We're all thinking about our wallets this weekend. Let's hope yours and mine get a little bigger, huh?
No worries. Anytime.